Gwan, how you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
Wagwan, are you there? What's good? It's your host G, and I'm joined by D Black, Francis, and Chunky. And for today's episode, we'll speak exclusively on our personal experience since joining the 30 Plus Club. I like to call it the Dirty 30s. Specifically, how our lives have changed, whether for better or for worse, since departing our 20s and ascending towards and throughout the big 3-0. We'll question whether the premise of age truly holds any significance today, and share our major keys on moves you should make before hitting the big 3-0. And of course, a whole lot of culture coming right up, right after we pay these tributes. If you aren't already a follower, perhaps tuning in for the first time, would like to learn more about the show, then definitely check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Jerk Jollof Collard Pod. Additional ways to reach us are provided in the outro. And we have some special prize giveaways coming up within a few weeks that will only be available on IG. So be sure to follow us there to learn more how to earn some JJC podcast merch. That's what we got coming up right around the way. So before we jump into the rep yours and the topic, definitely want to throw this question out to my brothers on here right now. And as you guys saw on the agenda already, there's a question for the group with the fill in the blank. And I kind of want to get y'all takes on it. And because we're talking about age, I probably felt like this is the most appropriate question to throw out there. And the question is, it's never too late to, and I want you to fill in the blank at the end. Let's start off with my brother D Black over here. How you doing, sir?
What's good?
So what would you say? It's never too late to what?
It's never too late to change. I think as we get older and older, I think the mindset is that it becomes more difficult to change, to make changes and learn new things and make any kind of transitions in life. You know, it's never too late, because I actually knew somebody who literally had a really successful executive corporate job. And she wasn't happy, and then she was like, you know what, I've been meaning to start this ice cream parlor, like a little ice cream shop thing, and she just loves ice cream and travels the world trying different ice cream. She was like, I'm gonna make my own ice cream spot, and she did, and she's doing very well. It was not easy at first, but I think that's the hard part that makes it scary. It's like, because we know there's gonna be some adversity with it, but she was able to do it, and then she's happy doing what she do. So it's never too late to change.
Major facts right there, major keys. All right.
Major
So let's throw it
keys.
over to Francis. What's going on, brother? It's never too late to what?
What's up? Yeah, I think I want to take this a different angle, but it's never too late to find God. I think sometimes we live life and we think, we've messed up so much that God will not forgive any of our sins, and it's too late for me, and let me just like dwell in this sadness and this pettiness that I have towards myself. But God has a different way for you. So I went to church. I was listening to church today, man. That thing hit different today. So I would just say it's never too late to find God. 100% facts.
Yeah, so you got the Yeezus vibes going on right now. Got the headband. We don't have the video yet, but next season we're working on it. You get to see all the swag, man. But yeah, definitely. Chunks, I know the late is not in your vocabulary, is it, Chunky?
No. I would say, and I'm taking this from Jay, it's never too late to bet on yourself. I think when we get to a certain age, we believe we can't do certain things, like the statement that D Black just made with his friend opening up an ice cream parlor. It's just like people think they're too old to start a business, switch careers, or do a couple of the different things. But sometimes you just have to take that opportunity to say, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care if I'm 30, 35, 39, 40, 45. I've seen people when I was in college that were like in their 50s going back to school just to get a bachelor's. So you got to invest in yourself, and at no point you can be 70 still bet on yourself. You know what you need to do, you know how you do it. Fuck it, be the person you always want to be. For me, at some point I'm gonna be driving stunt cars. So I just haven't taken that step yet.
Facts.
Exactly.
You can do it.
I know. Thank you.
You can do it all
I
night
appreciate
long.
I'm waiting for Chunk's like stunt car driving school to open up. It'll be like step 1, crash.
Now that that's out the way.
Wow.
That's
it's that like getting punched in the face method, right? Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. Well, everyone wants to be a stunt car driver till they crash. That'll be my motto.
It'll be a part of the experience for sure.
Yeah,
but nah, great answers. I really had nothing else to add to that other than it's never too late to share, review, and follow the podcast. However, if you're listening to this episode on the release day, which is Wednesday, January 19th, that means there's only 4 days left on our collaboration discount code with Flag Avenue. FlagAvenue.com is the merchant and booking site of visual content creator Joe Ubani, fellow member of Diaspora and friend of the pod, super talented creator. He's doing it all from weddings, music videos, art, and magazine portraits. For more details on the offers, I'm about to spell them out to you right now. Up until January 23rd, offer 1, JJC podcast listeners will receive 15% off any regular price print orders from the Flag Avenue website when they use promo code JJCPod upon checkout. The second and the biggest offer, once more, up until January 23rd of this month, and it's only available for the first 10 listeners to mention JJC Podcast on their wedding media booking with Flag Avenue. You'll receive 15% off your booking, which is a value of up to $500. And he will travel, which will include a traveling fee. So don't miss out on these exclusive offers only available through the podcast. You won't find these on Honey either. So don't put that on your web browser. It's going to be a waste of time. And I think like all of the married members on the panel, you guys can attest that finding a videographer and photographer can be a pretty expensive thing to do, right?
Touche. Oh my God.
Very expensive. Yes.
You can save on that, or I guess if you could save on it, or if you find a good plug, I mean, you saving yourself a lot of headache. So.
And this is a great plug. So 25, man, boy, stop.
Major keys.
Man, I'll do another one just because.
I know. I'm planning for your kids in the future. Like, listen,
Bruh,
I'm a listener.
this is for my kids.
Like, I saved you. I've been looking out for you. So yeah, once more, offer 2 is only available for the first 10 listeners. We're not sure how many spots are still available, so you got to make sure you go ahead and do that right away. And once more, it's only available until January 23rd. So even if your wedding's at a future date, it doesn't have to be like within January that you're getting married. You can redeem this towards whatever that date is. Of course, within reason. But, once more, 10 listeners. So be swift, be quick. And since we're in the plugging mood, let's go ahead and drop our rep yours today before we go into our main theme of discussion, the 30’s. And this episode's rep yours is dedicated to Gideon's Needle, located in Paterson, New Jersey. Gideon Needle specializes in the fusion of African textiles and Western fabrics to create top-notch quality pieces. The husband and wife team behind Gideon's Needle sources the best fabrics from various countries within Africa to create unique, eye-catching ensembles for any occasion, whether that be a wedding, birthday, night out, or business meeting. Add some West African culture to your traditional Western fits, or schedule a free consultation today to have your own custom piece made because you got it like that. Gideon's Needle is a must-see on my list of tailors and designers, but feel free to check out their work yourself by visiting their website at www.gideonsneedle.com or following them on Instagram at Gideon's Needle. And that's GIDEONSNEEDLE. And like all of our rep yours, this is a business I've personally endorsed and separated with buying coin with. And from experience, Gideon was a pleasure to work with and truly stands by his designs and quality. Have my own custom tribal fit made, busted out that motherland swag, and I will be returning. So if you're in New Jersey, check out their location at 221 Hayden Ave, Paterson, New Jersey, 07522. Let them know that the JJC podcast sent you. That's a 2 for right there. We did Flag Ave and Gideon's Needle. Let's go.
And some spelling was in there too. I appreciate the spelling.
I gotta show y'all love with the letters. I know my man Chunky's love the letters. So without further ado, let us chop. And I'm just gonna throw this first question up out there. Let's look at our overall outlooks and perspectives on age. I think age can have different meanings depending on where it's coming from. So let's hit the first question. As a member of American society, Do you feel we place too much emphasis on age? And let's drop it off to Chunky on this one first, since we started off with D Black on the last one.
Yeah, we do. We're supposed to be at certain milestones at certain ages. So you're in your 20s, supposed to be living your life, supposed to be in college. In your 30s, everything's supposed to be together. 40s, 50s, and 60s is in retirement. If you're at a certain age doing something, it's like if you're in your 30s still, going out to club is kind of like frowned upon. And if you're trying to have a good time with a bunch of 20-year-olds, that's frowned upon too. It's supposed to be an established professional at that point. So I don't think that's the truth. I think things have been changing over a time period, especially with the new generation. You got, TikTokers making like, 6 figures a month. So I don't know. The age thing for most of society is weird. We're supposed to be at a certain spot in professionals, but then again, there are some outliers where you can be 15. How old was that dude that won the Fortnite tournament? He was like 14 or something, right? So, and like he's a freaking millionaire. So yeah, that too is like if you're playing video games and you're 45, you're considered a creep. So it's a huge thing. I don't know if it'll solely shift to being free to do whatever you want to do, but yeah, I think we place a lot of emphasis on where you're supposed to be at a certain age in American society.
There from somebody else. Francis, what's your take?
I mean, I don't know about the 45-year-old thing, man. 45, you shouldn't really be. I mean, come on, bro. Still playing video games. I mean, well, okay, let me say this. You can play video games, just don't be spending too much time playing video games. But to answer the question, man, I mean, I think we do put emphasis on it, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, we have to wait till, we're 21 to have our first drinks, quote unquote, 18 to go to a strip club and all this stuff, and buy
I think
guns.
that's legal age.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's things attached to age, and there are, life expectation attached to age that I think is not a bad thing. There's a reason. For example, if you want to have a kid, you don't want to wait until you're 50, 40 years old to start trying to have kids, especially as a woman. That's where, gender thing does come into play, because it is a reality that the older you get, the harder it is. So I think the age expectation that's placed in that especially that group, or that, for people that fall into that category, I think it is appropriate. But do I think, there are some like areas of where we could make some changes as a society? Yes, I do. I definitely agree with that. But yes, we do put emphasis on it as a society.
Yeah, I guess I would add in there, like, definitely agree with the points you guys made. And I feel like I came from an era where age meant a lot, like, especially back then where, we had this kind of communal way of raising, children coming up. And it was like, it wasn't even just a matter of anyone in your family you had to show respect to. It was like anyone that was older than you, period, you had to show respect to. And I feel like today, where I'm seeing like 60-year-olds get sucker punched by 15-year-olds, it's just like there's this kind of void in respect for your elders that's just somehow disappeared somewhere in the last like 5 to 10 years. Remember, that was a thing. They would go on unsuspecting people, usually older people, vulnerable, gullible people, and sucker punch them. You would see like 16, 15-year-olds doing this, and you're like, oh, this is insane. And on the flip end, you see like some older adults acting very immature, like there's no correlation between age and maturity level. And not saying that's a direct reflection of whatever activity you might engage in. Like you could be 45 years old and making $1 million playing Fortnite. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like the era and the generation we're in, it's definitely a digital thing, but in a way, I kind of feel like we don't place enough emphasis on age anymore in society, as far as when it comes to showing respect for elders and things like that. Like when it comes to marketing, yeah, sure, we got that in the bag. Like if you're 30 plus, you got to get ready to expect these different type of health issues, as opposed to if you're 20 plus. So there's just like a whole level of marketing for different ages, and they do signify something. And it's just funny how each state has their own standards for age. Like I think some states you could be 16 and have a child, you know, whereas in some other states that could be considered statutory rape. So it's just like kind of interesting how that all plays. But to me, marketing end, yes, we have a focus there. But overall, when it comes to like the social respect, things like that, maybe that's a cultural thing. I feel like we kind of lost it in American society.
Yeah, and I think that hits a really good point. And I don't mind if I just jump in. It's just because social media, I think, is kind of reduced the value of age. I think, well, social media and technology. Well, social media is a product of technology, but technology has reduced our emphasis on age because even, you know, when you start, you know, getting around 30, you just like what is that saying about, oh, 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30 and 50 is the new, and it just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And it's all because of the fact that, you know, advancements in technology has allowed us to kind of preserve our youthfulness in a sense where even when we're like 21 and we can still do the same things, or we still can have this a similar mindset sort of as like people in their 30s, or like it's just like maybe when you're 35 and then you hit 40, then you're supposed to start looking at life a little bit differently. But because of, you know, if you eat well and you take better care of yourself and do all these things like that, you can live a lot more youthful even as your age progresses. So, and I don't say that in a negative way. I say that should be a positive thing. But, you know, as your body gets preserved longer, as, you know, as the average person, you know, lives longer. I mean, even I was looking up some statistics on world data on just how like the median age has increased over what was like the past 30 years. Oh, they said by 2020, by 2025, the average is going to be almost 30 years for Americans. So that means like the average person on Earth, I'm sorry, in America is going to be around 30, meaning people are living a lot longer because the people are not, I mean, we don't want people to die, but, you know, people are living longer, therefore living healthier. But then also what weighs into that statistics is that people are also having less kids because the medians, not to get super statistical, but the averages are pulled based on what's at the very bottom and what's at the very top. And if we have less kids and we have people living longer, the median is going to move.
I'm pretty sure we know how averages work.
All right, my bad.
I mean, like, yeah, my cousin killed that. Yeah,
you have an educated group.
I mean, what I got.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, cuz finish.
All right, but my last point is that, you know, again, not to say that it's a negative, but as we are able to live longer, you know, we should be able to do more within that time. We should be able to learn new skills, be even more refined in a specific profession, you know, being able to see more of the world than we typically would be able to see, because the social media technology, as it has made us live longer, it's also made the world smaller too. So we can actually do a lot more and just with that time.
I mean, like, it was really interesting. I mean, one thing, like, growing older is a wonderful thing because, you know, it kind of gives us a chance to live another day, to live a full and happy life. You know, but one thing that really happened recently, you know, I was in my Fidelity account, and it kind of shows me, it gives you like, okay, what, you know, how much you should have in your account at a certain age. And I thought that's really appropriate because, you know, that's why I think, you know, like to your point, because I think we should put more emphasis on age and expectation, because to also to your point, we are living longer, so we're gonna need more money for retirement and all this stuff that comes with that. So for me, like, when I look at okay, what's the average people my age is having in their 401k balance, for example, and what is, for my age, how much wealth should I have at this certain point in my life? Now, you know, those information are critical because in reality, it helps determine the quality of life you live at an older age. So, and that applies to other things. That's just one example of where, like, it's good to actually to be mindful of those numbers and what the expectations are, because it kind of keeps us honest with the things in our current state, where we are trying to go and what goals we set for ourselves.
Do you think that's specific to you, or is that a blanket statement for everyone in our age bracket? The reason why,
I mean, okay.
The reason why I ask that is that you look at American society now, you look at how much people are getting paid for minimum wage, you look at inflation. Is that really feasible to have X amount of dollars in your account or to live a certain lifestyle, depending upon where you actually work and what you actually do? Some people unfortunately live paycheck to paycheck. Some people are doing great jobs, such as like, healthcare workers or teachers that don't get paid that much. So is it them not being mature enough to save X amount of dollars if they're taking that money and putting it to different things they have to do in order to succeed? So I'm just trying to unpack the statement that you just made.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, obviously we all are in different financial levels, right? So, and to be honest, I mean, I think more people nowadays are investing more now than they did before. We have more people who have, Robinhood accounts, Weibo accounts, are investing in crypto. People are investing more, even though people are making, I mean, there's been stats that, that salary increased this year, but I think maybe more for the blue collar jobs or whatnot, but I think people are realizing the importance of investing and thinking about the future. Even though at the little s that you can save, at the smallest amount you can save on a monthly basis, they know how critical that is. Even I have one guy that I follow on YouTube, he actually could save $5 a day. Even at the minimum, or even if you could save even lower than that, but like just be mindful of that and just thinking more about your future. I think people we find ways to save and think and just kind of prepare for the future because we don't know what it looks like. So I think it's a good point. Maybe the amount that I save for versus somebody else might be different, might be more or less. But at the end of the day, if you're making the effort to save, I think that's really what the key point is.
So you think financial savviness is linked to maturity?
Well, I mean, thinking about it, I think so. Yeah, I think thinking about financial stability and like just how secure, how financial stable you are, and just be mindful of how much money is coming in and how much money is going out on my account is a way to measure maturity.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't one also say that, because I mean, I know we kind of just threw out there that minimum wage. I mean, for a lot of people, minimum wage hasn't increased. So, I mean, if you have a guy or someone making $7 an hour and we're telling them, okay, now you need to save this X amount, for yourself, you need to save this X amount, for retirement, you need to pay your bills. It's like, I think a lot of the problems we have here is the fact that people cannot afford to live in a sense. I mean, we're going from a place where some people didn't even have healthcare, and they were working full-time jobs. So it's just like, in a way, can you necessarily point it to someone's, lack of maturity as the reason why they're not financially ready, or are the jobs simply not paying enough?
No, I mean, that's a good point, but I mean, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, another thing to that as well is also, okay, we saw tons of people within the last year or two leave their high-paying jobs in pursuit of other opportunities, knowing that, okay, where they weren't happy with their work conditions, maybe what they were getting paid didn't equate to the amount of stresses that they were being put through. So it's just like, I feel like it's a little bit more than just saying, okay, you weren't mature enough to do what you have to do if I'm not even making enough to get there. And, I think that's like another big question in itself.
Yeah, too far. That is fair. And as far as like the salary increase, I'm not really sure who got the increase, but the number that is being reported for 2021 is there was an increase in salary by 1.46% or something like that, if I remember correctly. So I'm not sure what sector. I didn't really dig into that who got the pay increase, but there was an increase in salary based on who's tracking those numbers. And to my point about measuring, being mature enough about your financial behaviors, it's not really about I understand if you're not making enough, there's nothing you can do about that. For my point is really just kind of thinking about it and just be mindful of, you can't change your situation if you try your best to change it and things are not working out for you. But just be mindful of it and trying your best every day. Okay, I don't like where I'm at. I want to try to do more for myself, do more for my family. I want to be able to take care of my family more than I do currently. I mean, eventually, I think there should hopefully be a opportunity that opens up for that person. But yeah, but I mean, it's really just the mindset of it, not really, maybe even translate to the day-to-day action that a person do, but just being like mindful of where you are. I think it's really.
And I think, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. I think what you're saying, basically is that the metrics are there for a reason. Like if you're, at this level, the expectation is if you want to retire happy and be able to pay your medical expenses and actually eat, then you need to know that, all right, you should be contributing this much in order to reach your goal. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Listen, man, bacon's up more than 30%. We have a problem here.
That's inflation, bro. That's inflation. Yo, inflation is a thing. We are at the highest right now.
I know. I just want to throw out a joke because it got too serious, but
All right, so let's go to the next one then. So we're looking at all male panel. Can we speak on, I guess, looking at age from a gender perspective? So does the significance of age vary based on gender? I think a lot of people will rumor that men have time to do everything, right? Like our sperm never expires. We can, get someone pregnant at a drop of a hat, no matter what. We age backwards, right? Like as we get older, we get better, right? I think that's like some of the misconceptions they have about men aging. But from your points of view and with your parts of living, do you see there being any significance on age being based on gender? Do you guys feel that way? Start off with D.
Well, I mean, just, I will say, I kind of want to first say with the caveat, obviously modern technology has kind of changed the game a little bit. And, not being a medical expert, definitely talk to medical professionals. But, technology it's not really about age, because the rules that technically apply to, our bodies, for the most part, stay the same. It's the external factors that we're introducing to our bodies that are making the difference. Thus not putting cocaine in Coca-Cola, something like that. Just like it kind of helps to have a Coca-Cola can that doesn't have cocaine in it.
Kind of helps.
Kind of helps. It's a slightly beneficial thing, Not taking
but sugar though.
You know what I mean? Like back in the day, I forgot what year, it was a long time ago, but not taking mercury shot as a form of medication, things like that. We've learned to not do these type of things. So of course, those extend our lives. But then even with that being said, we've extended our lives to the point where we've learned that there are limitations within our biology. It's not a secret. It's not a myth, that, that there is a kind of an age range for when it's ideal for women to try to bear children. It's kind of funny because I think it's this one big social stereotype or one thing that kind of floats in the air that men that we can have children forever, and ultimately, in a theoretical sense, yes, but the quality of that sperm, the motility, the viability, all that stuff starts to go down too. So don't think that just because I'm a man, I could bag him forever, I could slay forever. Yeah,
got one in the belt, D. I still got one in the belt, D.
I mean, there's still, of course. So as we continue to grow and get older, we start to learn that there's higher level, there's a higher limit up there too. So it doesn't mean we have to shape our lives around those things, but technology has made it where we can, women can actually freeze the eggs and they can plan life a little bit better. There's also all these other assisting. Men can donate the sperm. You can preserve your genetic material, and beyond that, you can even maintain your body. You can work out. So, I think don't look at it in the sense of that, that there is now a plateau or that there is like some upper limit. But understand that now you have a little bit more time to be more educated, more well-versed, and accomplish more with the given time, but don't be deceived that, you're going to be young forever. I think that's the two kind of caveats of that. So
do you think the importance of age is based on your gender at all?
I was like, I don't think he answered the question.
Nah, he gave some great supporting points, but
I don't think he answered like
to the meat of it. Does it vary based on gender, do you think? With all these with all this technology we have, do you think
You
it
sound like
evens the playing field, or
an old man, like from the beginning, technology and social media, and
you make great
the
points,
world's
though.
smaller now. It's just like, bro, we're in the future, okay?
I mean, if you can afford insemination and all that, then yeah,
yeah,
sure.
but that's why. So here's the thing. Okay, fine. Just to frankly answer it, then yes, there is, because it does matter, because we know that if you take all that technology out, then there's still going to be walls that women are going to hit before men. So unfortunately, there is a structural biological component there that kind of prevents women from doing certain things before that men will still be able to kind of do it. I'll answer the questions how I want. If you want to answer with the what the F, you do that.
Oh boy, shot fired.
I like to articulate myself appropriately.
When I say there's not articulate, it's just like a whole bunch of fucking mumble. That's what you're telling me?
Nah, he told the story like he told the story like a true Nigerian. A lot of build up. You know what I mean? A lot of build up, and then boom, hit you at the end.
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
Don't come at us, bro.
It's true. You Nigerians do build the stories up pretty.
We are storytellers by nature.
I had no idea where you were going for a little bit.
I got it. I understood. But I'll to summarize my point. I agree. I think it's one of those double standards of nature, but in a way, I'm completely grateful for women and their contributions, because what they do, without a doubt, men could not do. You know what I mean? So it's just, I feel there is a little bit of double standard. I mean, we both have our issues when it comes to age, right? Like, we have to start getting our prostates checked at a certain age and all that other stuff. And it's just certain things that men deal with that women don't have to deal with, and vice versa. But I do feel like there's a lot more pressure on women, especially as they get older, to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, to present themselves a certain way. Especially if you're like a single older woman, is a lot more pressure, as opposed to where if you're an older single man, pretty much as long as you're well off, it's just like, sky's the limit for you. You can date people that are 20 years old. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's no end to this scale. It's like you're expected to get younger and younger attractive partners. So it's just like there are some double standards, but some of them are just more so I think social that we've created over time and with our systems. But that's my take on it.
So then it's not even, then with that take, that means it's more about wealth and acumen. I mean wealth and like resources versus age, because if you have infinite amount of resources, then you can kind of do whatever forever.
I'm about to bust all this shit up.
I don't think so. I mean, wealth and resources do come in handy, but I feel like there's certain like guidelines for women, or ultimately like there's a lot more pressure on women to achieve certain things, because a woman can be older and more successful and she'll still get shat on by other women for not being dateable or marriage material or approachable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or she can be looked upon as, oh, she's too aggressive, she's intimidating, like, oh, and a lot of men will look at that as something they don't want to deal with. So on the other hand, if you're a man, it's kind of like, all right, he's a man. So that's what it is.
Point. That's a good point.
Anyway, so my thing is that I think it comes down to mentality. At a certain point, we talk about the biological phase of it. I'm thinking about the mentality. Usually females mature faster than males. From what I understand, they have a little bit more intelligence. Like I see that with my daughter now. There are things that she picks up on is super fast, and it's frustrating because I can't trick her. She ends up tricking me doing certain things. And I'm in my 30s, and this girl ain't even that old. But I think it's based on experience as well. So when I look at it as a whole, when we go through different experiences in life, we tune our expectations and we tune our responses. And I think women have an advantage on us when it comes down to computing information that's a little bit quicker than us. And it's displayed throughout their youth and as they grow older. For men, yeah, like we're known to be idiots, right? You stick a whole bunch of men in a room, depending on their profession, they're going to end up doing some stupid things. Or you just put like, me and D Black in a room. It's just like, hey, man, let's just go out here and just do something super reckless, like do donuts and then go get a donut and then drink some more coffee at like midnight. Like it's not smart stuff, but that's just how we think. Like what's a pure form of enjoyment. I think women will sometimes think things through before they do it. And there are other men that do that out there as well. But when it comes down to the age difference between us and the significance of age, I don't know. I look at women like we talked about the silver fox, but there are women that are cougars, right? It's like, man, like as you're in high school or teenagers, like, man, I hooked up with such and such's mom, and that's cool and that's acceptable. Or I hooked up with this teacher, that's cool, that's acceptable. So I don't think it's
Acceptable
really.
for who?
I mean, as a group of dudes, it's just like, oh, you did what with that teacher, or you did what
Okay.
with whoever's mom.
Just making sure that's clear.
that's-
Just making sure
I mean,
that's clear.
yeah, you
It's
talking
only
about college,
for the
right?
kid.
Yeah,
for the kid
me-
though. For the young.
That's,
I mean,
that's,
like,
that's
college
legal
kid.
stuff right there, bro.
No, if you look in the news today, like, let's not even front. Let's not even like hold back. Let's just be completely honest. There are stories in the news where there are students sleeping with teachers. So like, let's not play it soft. Like, we can't tell the truth on here.
No, but I'm saying
we do not
that-
condone the act.
I mean,
We do not condone it.
I know I don't condone it. I'm
We
just
don't
saying, like,
condone
let's
it.
just sort
We
it
do
out
not
there.
condone it.
I don't
it
condone
does
but
happen.
it's
It
It
does
should
happen.
don't look the same.
just because it's fact doesn't mean we condone it. It's just telling the truth, right?
Nah, it does happen.
So
It has happened.
my thing is that when it comes down to that significance and age, I think I agree with Glenn in the sense that women have a lot more pressure. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for them. As men, it's less pressure, but at the same time, as men, when we get to a certain age, we're supposed to have different things underneath our belt, where we are in our profession. We have to have a home, we have to have a nice car, we have to have all these materialistic things to show that, you know, I have grown to be an actual man, right? I can take care of you by these materialistic things that I have, or what's in my bank account, what's in my 401k, what I do on the weekends, what type of sports bar I go to. So I have to prove all this up front before anyone can come and approach and talk to me. For me, I think for women, you know, they just have to look good, walk out the door, and it's just like people will flock to them. But for men, we got to have a lot. I can't roll up in a 1998 Honda Civic and think I'm the smartest and wealthiest person out there. I may be, but I have to put on that show at a certain age to show that I've made it in life.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're tall and handsome, sometimes that doesn't matter, right? Girls will still flop.
But that don't make you a keeper, though. That don't make you a keeper.
Yeah, they're keepers.
And
I
honestly,
don't have to wait for I'm growing anymore. I'm already there.
The way I see it, I've seen a lot more women out here with making these gains than some of the fellas, man. Like, real talk, I see a lot more women in these corporate positions now, driving these nice cars. So it's almost as if the roles have somewhat reversed.
I mean, there's a shift.
I think it's. I wouldn't say reverse. I think it's balanced. I wouldn't say reverse.
It's not. We're not there yet, but I think there's a lot. Talking about corporate, I think there's a lot more emphasis, especially for like some of these bigger companies, to put women in leadership position. Like, I know for my company, for example, like they have almost 50% goal to have women on the top of the chain. So it's really, so that's why, you know, you do see a lot of that. But to your point, I think all of you guys made a really good point. I think the gender thing comes into play from a societal standpoint. I mean, because from a biological standpoint, we all have things that we deal with as a man or a female, you know, but from a societal standpoint, you know, I think for men, we get more attractive as we get older, you know, because there's a saying out here that the older a man is, the more mature he is, right? And when women, well, at least, you know, that's the saying, right?
It's always going to be a saying. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, but it has to be true more than that. Anyways, but the point is, you know, a lot of women actually are attracted to older men, and you actually find a lot of younger ladies talk to older men.
Older wealthy men.
Older. Well, it doesn't have to be older wealthy. I mean, it depends on
I think someone feels some type of way right now.
It doesn't have to be wealthy, but I think men who can carry themselves a certain way is really where, like, I think to Chunky's point, the older you get, your appearance does come into play a little bit too. You know, we have to, that is a societal expectation as well. You know, you can't be dressing like you're 20 when you're 40. And things have to change a little bit. So, but for women, it's more in a reversal. I think the older they get, is they become less, you know, sought after. I would think, you know. But where the younger girls is kind of winning, and for men, I think the older men they can become actually more like sought after. So that's kind of what I just wanted to add into what you guys stated.
That's true. And I think, like, the assumption is that as a man is older, he's wealthier, he has accumulated more, he has more experience. And I don't know, Brother Francis.
I mean, but those are also assumptions, bro. I mean, there's a lot of broke men out here who are older who are still doing it. You know,
Yeah, they still
like you said, you know, Chunky brought up the question is what you're saying about someone who's making $7 an hour. Like there are people who are making average income who are doing just as well, are very successful meeting girls, and ladies love their personality and how they carry themselves. It doesn't always have to tie to, I don't think you always have to tie to income.
And their
ultimately
height.
comes, well, in their height, because I mean, I'm not very tall, and I could tell you.
They say you're tall where it matters. Francis. You're tall where it matters.
No.
That's it. Tall where it matters. Not the height where it matters. That's
hey, I'm a married man.
Exactly. Tell them.
But that's all.
Nah, good. Touche. All right, so let's jump to the next one then. What impact, if at all, has culture played on your personal views towards aging and age versus life expectations? And if you have any good examples, share a few. So let's go ahead. I'll start off on this one. I would say culturally, like Jamaican culture, there's a lot of emphasis on respecting your elders and people that are older than you. So I would say that's definitely one of the things. I always looked at people older than me to be kind of like mentors or teachers. But then when you use your own better judgment and you realize older people are wrong too, I mean, that's completely fine, but I'll still treat you with the same amount of respect, you know, won't talk down to you or anything like that. I think culturally as well, there are like certain views on what, as a man gets older, I say a little bit of a pro and con. Like a man is always supposed to be in a position to provide and sustain and, you know, to feed his family. And as you get older, you're supposed to bear more children, I would think. And, you know, basically considering that I have like 20-year-old cousins that's gotten the jump start on me in the baby making department, you know, it's kind of like, all right, we know what's going on over here. Like you 30 plus, you still ain't got no kids. Like, what's going on, G? What's happening? So I would say like those are the things that really vary, like culture specific. And I think like living in America specifically is getting the understanding that, okay, you know, you may not always be able to move according to what your culture wants for you. It's just a matter of doing what you essentially can and doing it in a responsible manner, I would say.
I mean, to support you, I don't think it matters when you have kids at the end of the day. I know a couple who had twins when they were in their 50s. So that's really dependent upon you and when you're comfortable. Because like, yeah, it'll be great to run around when you're 20 and then you're 45, just edging towards 50. That's cool. But realistically, if you're not in that correct financial situation to handle kids, then don't put yourself in that bind. Because at the end of the day, your responsibility as a parent is to make sure your child has a better life than you had growing up. So if you can't provide that and it's not your time to do that, then you're good to go. I guess that's the only American born person in this group. For me, I look at American culture with a tainted lens when it comes down to aging and age versus life expectations. Like, yeah, like graduate college at the age of 22, 23, the latest. Start a job, you know, actually have a career. So not bagging groceries at the age of 26 or like bouncing at the age of 27. Like that's just completely frowned upon. I have to have a job where I'm saving towards getting a house, at the house, white picket fence, all that stuff. And that's the quote unquote American dream. But at the end of the day, realistically for me, what I've learned through American culture is do whatever the fuck you want to do, right? If you're successful or not, it doesn't matter. You are who you are, and people are going to hate you and dislike you for it. So you have to do what makes you happy. And if it's doing TikToks and making six figures, or if it's, you know, being an influencer, everyone seems to be widely accepting of that nowadays. So it's just a different culture the way that I see it. And I guess, you know, at the age of 40, I should be making six figures, right? I should not have an excessive amount of debt. I shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck flipping burgers. That's what society says in America. But is that really the truth? No. So I did what I thought was right. You know, I got the job that I have today and did the things that I wanted to do. And I know that there's no judgment from anybody in the family because the cultural expectation is just like, hey, you know, you're making money? Yeah. Are you above the poverty line? Yeah. Then we're good by what you do. And that's the way that I see it.
There's a lot to unpack there. I say the first thing. All right. So with me, let me answer the question because I do have some things I wanted to say about like what Glenn said, and what Chunky said. But so for me, yes, culture definitely matters. Oh, not to say not matters, but it played an impact on how I perceived the world growing up, right? And as a Nigerian born, son of two Nigerian parents, it's very, very, linear. You finish your undergrad and you go to what we call primary school, and then you finish, you go college. Then you get married, then you have kids. I forgot. I actually skipped a step because it was supposed to be a job in there. But right after you get that job, you definitely marriage and job are somewhere together, and then have like an army. And when I say an army, I mean all of your children just popping all out. Like, like that's the expectation, right? And then even with that, it's only a handful of professions of, doctor, lawyer, or some kind of engineer. I think businessman is now somewhat acceptable, which is extremely broad. But as I have now kind of moved to, I mean, as my family kind of more assimilated into American culture, we've assimilated some of the aspects of American culture. That perspective has changed, and actually, I'll just kind of address Chunky and Selassie at the same time, because I feel like the one thing that really ties everything is going to be, I mean, money rules everything. Is really the truth and matter. The only culture that really matters, I know it may be like, oh, I don't want to hear money, 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 but money, the resourcing, what you have, and your perception of your resources is what really affects how you look at your culture. So if you're making a certain amount and you're happy with the life that you're living, or the life that you're progressing towards, then you'll be fine. If you're wanting to do something extremely lavish and be all over the place, then that's ultimately going to affect how you perceive, the expectations you have for your life, and when you like think that you should be doing those things. What was it? I think just like, because I think there's a mindset that everybody will eventually make six figures and everybody's going to be a millionaire and stuff like that. I mean, even today, 15% of people are millionaires. Now, as more social media, these young athletes and social media influencers, what is it, OnlyFans, which I'm learning is people are
Oh,
making
you found
crazy
out what
money
it
on
is?
there. Yeah, I mean, you guys are the ones that taught me. Y'all the ones that taught
Yeah,
me.
like
Even though we
3
told you,
seasons
you
to
didn't
figure
know
it
what
out.
it was. Yeah.
Bro,
So
let's
I'm
all
putting
go
a
grab
pause here.
camera.
So what is OnlyFans, Steve?
So OnlyFans, okay, fine. Damn, I'm getting quizzed on the spot. All right, bet.
Wow.
OnlyFans is a platform for inspiring individuals to sell imagery that that their constituents will enjoy, and in turn get monetary compensation for that imagery.
Amen.
So professional.
So you're talking.
I love the way you
saying
explained that.
you're saying these are virtual strippers in sexual exploitation.
He said imagery. He said
Imagery.
It's virtual, right? So it's virtual, so it's imagery, right?
That
So
falls
like,
under imagery.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
anything
saying.
that
I'm
falls
just
under
trying to break
Yes,
it down to
virtual
the
imagery.
simplest point.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
whatever.
virtual imagery.
Technology. Again, here comes technology.
technology. But
Exactly.
anyway, so I'll
Great
wrap up.
point,
Let me
though.
conclude my point. But my main thing
Mhm.
is just that, basically, for me, I've learned, I guess what I've ultimately kind of learned is that, with culture, you basically shape your culture, right? And through shaping your culture, you shape your life expectations. And don't let, I think just don't let those pressures from, like your social culture, your family culture, don't let those things weigh down on you to the point where you're not happy and you're not meeting a certain level when you think, air quote, you should meet those things, because you define your culture, you define your age expectations and your life expectations, and not everybody needs to be a millionaire. You don't need to be a millionaire to be happy, so work within your own frame and then you'll be happy. I rest my time
Gems.
again.
Yeah, I can't.
Gems.
Yeah, those are excellent point, because I think one thing that I've really know, well, at least for me, one thing I've realized is at least especially the older I've gotten, that American culture and Nigerian culture, from like age expectation, kind of there's an overlap there. Because like I think parents want the same thing for their kids, regardless of where you're from or where you live or whatnot. I think what is different is how we handle things when they don't go the certain way. Where Americans, the culture Americans in America like to handle when a kid doesn't listen to you is different from when the kids does not listen to you in especially in the Nigerian culture. So but as far as what you do at a certain age, I feel like it's the same in America. So one thing that to my cousin's point, I feel like my parents actually kind of got to a certain point where they just state what they expect from us, and we ultimately have the final say of how we see things. And they have their view on things and they say it, and I rebuttal like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I think we got to a certain place where they respect my viewpoint and what my life expectations are, what I want, what decision I make for myself, where I think it does overlap with the American culture. And I think it is because they do live in America. But one thing that I will also say is there is the same, cultural activities or expectation that is also happening in Nigeria. Because I feel like United States, America set the standard. And a lot of cultural places, they always find some doing copycat, because there's a lot of copycat that happens. So the things that happens in America, if you go back to Nigeria right now, they are happening back home as well. So there's this overlap that's taking place right in front of us where it's all diluted. My mom says all the time, because the expectation for a girl was usually for a woman is you cook, clean, and do all that and take care of the kids. That was the rule back home many years ago, but she tells me like, man, it's not even like that for a lot of Nigerian women anymore. A man has to learn how to take care of himself as well. Like you have to know how to stand on your own 2 feet. So just wanted to, my cousin made a great point. I'm not, I totally agree with everything he says. I just wanted to add a couple more points in there.
Cultural appropriation? Did you just talk about cultural appropriation?
Yeah, I mean, sure. It is. It's a thing, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you. We can leave that for another day.
That's a completely separate topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I get started. All right, so let's hop to the next one before we get into our personal points. In your opinion, is there more than one type of aging? Let's start off with Chunky on this one. What's your take?
Yeah, of course. You have mental, emotional, physical, which some of us on the podcast are experiencing now. You're spiritual. So I think as you age, I don't look at age as the number. I look at age as in a level of maturity, understanding, and wisdom. So you can be 35, 40, but still act like an 18-year-old because you haven't hit that mental aging point, right? You're physically 40, but you're mentally at 20, you're emotionally at 10, and you're spiritually at 2. So there's a lot that goes into that. And for me, I kind of work on that. So I question myself when I give responses to certain people, like, hey, am I taking this too seriously? Like I actually reached out to D Black about that very recently. Like, okay, well, I feel this way about the situation. Are my feelings correct? Am I thinking the right way? And this helps me mature emotionally. This helps me mature mentally. So yeah, people just look at it as like, oh, well, you're 40. It's like, okay, what does that really mean at the end of the day? Are you thinking like a 40-year-old? How is a 40-year-old supposed to think? So there's a lot to me that goes into that, but fuck that, man. There are so many different facets that you have to age in. It's just not by the number or physically. Because trust me, I would want to be physically 20 right now. Because this shit is hard when you get past 30. It's just like, man, like I can't run the way I used to. I can't do events the way I used to. It's like, man, I only ran around for like 30 minutes and I got to take 2 days off. This recovery sucks.
Boy, oh boy.
Crazy. That's crazy. Nah, I feel you on that. I would sum it up. Yeah, there's definitely more than one type of aging. There's psychological, social, biological. And they all like encompass different things, right? Like as far as the social, if you're a certain age, you're expected to act or behave or carry on in a certain way. If you're 40, 50, you're not expected to be hanging around unless a bunch of 20-year-olds, unless you're a mentor of some sort. You know what I mean? Like if you're 50 plus, I don't want to see you sagging. I don't want to see your underwear. I don't want to see you sagging. I don't want to see you in some all red Nikes. You know what I mean?
Never come to Atlanta.
Like if you're 40 and up, days is over. Like stop. You know what I mean? Stop getting on the young man Facebook and dropping all types of slanderous, memes and nonsense like that. Like act your age. You know what I mean? And with that, it's just the expectation that we're all mature. And you spoke to that, Chunks, and it's not the case a lot of the times. It's just like, you can be a certain age, but you act something completely different. But, one thing that I really did get into a lot as far as physically, I realized that I actually purchased like this BMI calculator scale that actually will render or show you what your body age is based on how you're performing. And I remember when I did it when I was 25, it was telling me that my body age was like another 10 years plus. So it was just like, what you do in your 20s, I'll say this, what you do in your 20s, that all matters and it all builds up. And if you were fucking around in your 20s, you're definitely going to feel that shit in your 30s or your 40s. Trust me, I even got like physical injuries from sports. So I thought, oh yeah, I'm good, I can recover. Nah, it's like hot mess. So I would say on the physical, take care of yourself. It will pay dividends. And it's just kind of funny when you see like professional athletes even taper off at like 35. And I'm someone that has never been at the professional athlete level. I'm like, shit.
35. You seen LeBron, bro? They are Brady. They are redefining what age is.
That's
bro.
true too. That is
Stop
true.
playing.
I was gonna say, well, look at Dion. The Deion Sanders, like that dude can still like move. Like,
I mean, you seen T.O., man. You seen T.O.
Did you say Deion Sanders?
Yeah.
Dion can't move, bro.
Chucky always referencing people that are not playing anymore.
But he's
no.
It's talking about age.
So I'm saying it's like, so I'm talking about age. I'm not talking like, motherfucker, what? Like, were you not paying attention? We're talking about prototypes. I'm saying like
saying
for
like
him,
he can still play in the league today.
No. What I'm saying, like when you look at prototypes, he was one of those early on prototypes where he still did a lot at his age. Like as he got older, he was still moving. I'm not saying like he's in the league right now, motherfucker. Like
I think the best example
because Scottie Pippen's still in the league right now and he's doing fantastic.
Exactly.
Ben
Wallace.
T.O. is Ben Wallace, man. T.O. will kill a lot of athletes still. You see, that boy in crazy shape.
It's all about how you take care of yourself, man. Yeah. And it's like real talk. You just have to really stay on top of it, especially when you're young. And that shit catches up with you. Because there was like that one athlete, the black guy, he played like almost he was like Bo Jackson. And he went into MMA and he was like 50 plus in MMA, looking like he was damn near, 30. And it was just like it's insane. I'll get his name when I can, but it really doesn't matter.
I'd say like I agree with you, and then like though on top of that, it's just like still take care of your body now. I think I was talking to y'all about this like a while ago. It's just like I completely overlooked the level of care we were given while playing collegiate sports to the level of care we try to give ourselves now. Like I don't have the time to take an ice bath for like an hour or like 40 minutes. I got too much shit to do, or to stretch for 30 minutes before I start doing something. Like all that stuff like holds value. So like before y'all go out there and decide to run up 40, take it from me. Stretch first.
Facts.
Ouch.
Well, I know this is speaking from person. Well, let's drop this next one. We're challenging the idiom "you're only as old as you feel," and that's definitely one worth challenging. So I like you guys. I'll start off with D Black on this one. I think he has some good takes. Provide one defining moment where you realize that you're officially 30 and up.
Wow. Okay.
What noticeable changes have you experienced, whether physical, mental, or socially? Since we're speaking about the 3 different types of aging, what changes have you experienced, or was there that one defining moment that you said, "Fuck, I'm 30"?
Well, I will say, in the words of a great scholar, age ain't nothing but a number. Throwing down ain't nothing but a thing.
Are you gonna finish?
This loving I have for you, I'll never change.
Okay.
Age ain't nothing but a number. All right. So
oh man.
Boy.
He was a great
basically
one.
trying to say, you know what, at the end of the day, even though there's different areas of aging and like maturing and stuff like that, I feel like, in my head, I always kind of have like a kid's mindset in a sense, even though be mature when I need to be. My body tries to tell me that I'm not a kid anymore when things kind of give out and joints break or you get pains and aches and in places that like, oh, damn, trying to get out the bed. And I didn't realize that hurt. That lower part of my back hurt. So, I mean, stuff like that, like in all seriousness, I mean, yeah, I feel like for me, my body kind of tells me is when I know, like when I couldn't dunk anymore and I was like, oh, snap, I used to be able to dunk. I can't dunk no more. That's crazy. Like I thought I had forever hops. I thought it was gonna be, or I used to run like a 4.3.
I've never seen D dunk. Have you guys
done it?
Dunk?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Chunky's seen me dunk.
Is it pretty? No. Can he successfully do it? Yes.
I remember one time where there was an attempted dunk, and I didn't hear from D until 2 days later. And I heard he was in the hospital. You know what I mean?
Are we really doing that?
What happened? You sprained your ankle?
That is later in life. That's not when I was younger.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
I heard there was an attempt to dunking, and it ended up in the hospital visit. So what happened there?
That's when you find out. That's when you try to find out that you. When you think that, that's when you realize, like, okay, I thought I was still young though, and I could still do this. And then you find out that you cannot. So that's what
humbling.
Your body tells you. Your body will remind you of what you can't do when you know what I mean. But I will. But I'm not gonna front. I'll fight it as much as possible. I'm kind of stubborn in that sense.
Man,
the sooner you take it, the better you'll be. Like,
bro.
Treat your body like a Lamborghini at this point.
It's not even a Lamborghini. Probably I'll say 67 Challenger. It's just like some of these parts aren't made anymore. These tune-ups gotta happen.
I would say that's right. That's gonna be the hard. That is always gonna be the hardest part of aging for me, though. In general, I know it's not necessarily answer the question, but it's gonna be the hardest part of aging for me is not being athletic because I've literally always been athletic my entire life. So it's gonna be weird to not be able to yell parkour and do a flip or something.
It's old man athleticism. You ever seen like those old dudes on the basketball court? They don't move that fast, but, like,
they be busting the young ones.
Yeah, it just be like
all about crossover.
It just be
all about technique.
It's all about technique at that point.
Over here, busting up ankles.
Yo, talking about basketball, because so every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, I try to get up by like, they do a 5:30 a.m. run at Lifetime here in Minnesota, and I try to go, but now that I'm older and I'm 30 plus, like my knees, so this is how I used to compare my game. I was like D Rose, jumping around, doing all the crazy layup, under the left, right, blah, 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 whatever. But now, man, my knees, they be telling me like, Francis, cut. Like, bro, no, I'm not cutting. I'm setting up in the corner, pass me the ball, and I'm pulling for the threes, because that is where my body is at right now, and I'm not pushing it because I have this chronic right leg, right knee problem that comes and go. It goes away for like couple weeks, then I deal with it for like 2 months. Like it's backwards. Like
your body
is breaking down. And I mean, one of the most thing that kind of stuck out to me though was recently when losing weight is not the same, bro.
Oh my God, is it not the same?
Bro, like before I used to every year I used to lose like 10 pounds because I put it on, then wintertime comes, I go on a diet, I bounce right back. I can't do that anymore. It's not the same. It's like it's actually going the opposite direction now instead of going the positive, the negative direction. It's just crazy, man. So, but from a mental standpoint, I think just the confidence for me, it's really what I feel like I've gained compared to when I was younger. I'm a lot more confident in myself. I think that comes with we've talked about career and getting to a certain place in life. When you get a certain place, you realize, okay, I've worked hard. There's still a lot of work to still do, but you look at okay, I'm not doing so bad. And then that does give you a level of confidence, among your peers. And you go up, you just kind of, walk with your chest open a little bit more because, I'm not, especially when you do even when you do one of those high school reunion. Remember, like when remember you were like the kid people used to kind of laugh at, and then you go back and like, yeah, what's up? What y'all doing now? I mean, I know, like, I'm not trying
people
to
only
like,
show up to high school reunions to gloat. So
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
yeah, exactly. Because especially
So I
when
ain't
you
got
were
time
like
for
the
y'all.
kid that used to like, I did my 10-year, but like I used to look around and I remember why I hated high school, because like people were still the same cliques. I was like, man, I'm mad that I came to this, but yeah,
You had your own clique.
yeah, exactly. So,
I mean,
but yeah, go ahead, Chunks.
you're talking about knee problems.
My joints.
Yeah, man. So like, I think that one moment that I realized I was 30 plus is just that at my job we do like flag football games, and like Glenn has seen it, D Black and I always experience it. Francis, you never got to see us like at our peak, like just picking on cats. Like we'll just be outside just on the football around, like, y'all want to play a pickup games? Like, only way this work is me and him on the same team. Like, yeah, all right, whatever. We just be busting dudes out. So like now being 30 plus, it's just like, all right, these kids that are 18, 19 are just zooming all over the field. Like I said, you gotta play like the old man game. I'm like, yo, put me at slot and put me at tight end. I'm running the longest routes, slow as fuck. Like the only thing I can use to my advantage is my body mass. It's just like, as long as the defender's behind me,
Not even that man muscle.
Exactly. That old man muscle is just like, yo, why are you leaning on me? It's like, you ain't running fast enough. Like literally catching the ball, just leaning on people so they can't get around me. And it's just like, all right, now they put me on defense. I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing anything in the secondary because I was getting smoked. Like these kids flying, yeah. And then the funniest thing, like being that we play collegiate football, so we're used to pressure, we're used to like catching in a crowd of people. So I would stand there in a crowd of people that still throw it, and I would catch it. Like I'm not running fast. Like literally, I'm just standing there and I'm just taking up a whole bunch of space. And that's why I realized, like, yo, I am old. Like I can't run with these cats.
I am space.
Like exactly. You get no looks.
Like I am here. You throw me the ball, no one's gonna get around me. And it's just like, I'm not gonna be open, but just toss you the rock. But that's when I realized, like, yo, like, I'm old, man. I'm one of those old cats, and I can't tell these kids nothing. And like when people bring their kids around, that's in high school. Let me tell you something, son. Or back in 2007, they're like, God damn, you old.
Yeah, for real. I can't believe people were born in the 1990s. Bro. I thought everybody stopped at 1986.
Oh my God. Yo, don't have kids. Oh my God.
Yo,
you was born in when?
Would it hear some fucked up shit? So like, I was talking to my cousin.
2000 and what?
And he was like, yo, man, you just shut the fuck up. Weren't you born in the 1900s? I'm
like, I was. I was.
1900s.
Oh my God.
I had shit else to say after that. I just like walked away.
Like, oh, you little shit.
My pride was broke. Like, I didn't know what to do.
Bro.
Beat his ass. That's what you do.
He's strong. He's young and he's strong. Like, I mean, I got old man strength, but I ain't down for that fight. Like, I gotta punch him in the kidney. I'm trying to win and walk out.
Punch him in the throat, bro.
That's when you gotta do like, don't let me get up. Don't let me get up.
Let me get out this shit.
Yo, aging requires a certain level of craftiness that we have to learn now. You know what I mean? We gotta be intimidating without having to actually get up and do shit. You know what I mean? We gotta like command our respect through our wit and just, I don't know, just come up with a whole bunch of fucking stories we can tell about our heydays or something. But it's like, yeah, getting older requires a certain set of craftiness and these young kids, they don't respect your age anymore. If you on that field, they will dunk on your ass. They'll be like, it will be someone's highlight reel, someone's TikTok, and then they're gonna post it. 50-year-old man gets dunked on by a fucking 15-year-old, and it's just like, yo, come on, really? You made me a TikTok. You made me.
They actually targeting you. They targeting you. Actually, it's not even that they're not going to think that you could get it. They're going to be like, no, I want to give it to this.
All respect to the kids. Crazy.
like that's why I start early. I don't let people talk shit to me on Xbox. You know what I mean?
I mean,
boy,
that's just been happening, man.
Well, pettiness isn't an age thing. Because pettiness will survive time. You know,
I mean, but that's being clever, right? You can't sit there and go toe to toe with someone who's just like, man, I gotta whip out this shit. Like arguing with a 10-year-old, like, man, I can have dessert anytime I want. You gotta eat your dinner first. Like, son, stupid. Like, I have time for this.
Oh, there come the dad jokes.
Hey, man, dad jokes are a thing. Like, it's a skill.
It is a wave. I've heard. I understand.
You can't just be throwing out like nothing. Like, what did I say to my daughter? I was like, what do you call a saw with eyes? And she's like, what? I'm like, a seesaw. She thought it was funny.
She thought it was funny. I like that you use that.
What matters to me? I guess it's gotta be simple.
Fuck, it came from you. 40 ass jokes. Yeah, man, man. It requires. When I was called sir for the first time, I was like, like, really, sir? Like, I don't know if you're just trying to like say I'm old as shit or if she's being respectful because
respectful.
I was just like, because I mean, I'll be honest. I started balding at like my mid-20s. You know what I mean? Facial hair has never been a problem, but the gray started kicking in like around 28, 29. So I have the whole salt and pepper thing going on. And it's like, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the age anymore, but physically I have noticed like, okay, I got to take more steps. I got to do a warm up. You know what I mean? I can't just run up in the gym raw and just start smashing everything. Like I even
raw and smashing.
Mr. Rubber Waistman, man.
Can't
in the
run
same
up in
sentence.
I know they're gonna be like all these entendres. But it's like you have to really do take some care. I mean, I feel like honestly, you have guys starting in MMA in their mid-30s at my age. Even like we have Randy Couture, he started at like what 34 plus. You know what I mean? You have even guys older, so it's possible. But I feel like right now would be my chance, my last stride to really make a difference physically, as opposed to getting older where it gets a little bit harder. And it's like, so I think right now is the time to really get it in and set the platform for the next 10, 20 years. You got to think like 10, 20 years ahead every time, really. But I mean,
to be real though, I think the more you do it, the more like, because the guys that I play with, so we like at my gym, we have the morning section, which time that happens at 5:30 to like 7:30. Then there's noon ball where the younger kids come, like, you know, like mid-20s. Then you have like 4 p.m. to like 5 p.m. is when like all of the high schooler comes. So like the guys that come at like 5:30 are businessmen, are CEOs, some of this bigger, older men, but they've been doing it for so long that their body, maybe they don't move as quick, but they still like moving around. So for me, I look at them and be like, yo, if I'm still moving around like you, when I'm 50, 60, 50, well, most of them are like 50s, like yo, that's a dream come true, man. Like, so just make sure you keep moving, make sure you stay active, because if you maintain that, your body kind of maintains at least some level of mobility.
Yeah, no if to start. You know, get scratch if off the list and just make it happen. So let's get into this next one so we can wrap up soon. Older and bolder. Has your tolerance for risk grown or lessened as you've entered your 30s? Let's drop that over to Francis on this one first. What's your take? Is that a such thing as older and bolder?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I think it's actually happened opposite way, because I think a lot of people, when they're younger, they take more risk and play more safe the older they get. For me, I should play it safe at a younger age, and I'm more likely to take more chances now at an older age. So I think it really depends, and that could have been cultural too, because you know I was raised to like, you know, only do the things that I know are safe, and playing this, you know, just kind of playing within the certain parameters, I guess, you know. So I could attribute that to my culture, but personally now, you know, I'm, you know, like I've missed out on so many different experiences because of me. Like if I don't have the cash immediately, I don't take the trip. But now I'm like, you know what, man, I got cash. I got my paycheck coming, or I got this investment thing going. Hopefully pops. You know, all of this stuff, you know, you just like, you know what, let me live a little bit. You just more likely to take more chances and enjoy life a little bit more than than I did, at least when I was younger. I didn't do anything. But like now that I'm older, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go. So, so yeah. So, I mean, I think it's really, I think it's based on your personal experience, but so I don't know if I could, make a blanket statement about it, but at least for me, the older I got, the more bolder I became. Like speaking up at work, for sure, like that's a great example. Like now, like I can state the things that actually, like, if you want to ask me stuff to do, I'll talk back to you, like, and not talk back in a disrespectful way, but I ask you, like, hey, when do you need this? This is not working. This is what I recommend for you to do. Before I'll stay quiet and not say anything about it and just do it. But now, like, the older I've gotten, the more confident that I have, I'm more able to speak up to kind of fight back on a few things.
Any other takes on that? Older and bolder?
Nah, I pretty much remain the same. Like I've always had a higher risk tolerance. So it's just like I don't think my age changed that. I don't think I've become more methodical with it either. It's just like at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to take those opportunities, and that's what gives you your experience and life lessons, and be able to talk to other people and able to share wisdom, like, hey, I did this the wrong way, or I was successful in this, so I can impart that knowledge on you. I don't think playing it safe is super helpful in life when it comes down to certain things, but like I said earlier, that Dre said, like, bet on yourself. Speak up and say what you need to say when you need to say it, as long as it's not derogatory, as long as you can articulate it. What's the worst someone can say to you? Like, oh, I don't like your response. Like, hey, at least I told you how I felt and what I thought, and it was done in a professional and respectful manner. Or, hey, let me go skiing, let me go surfing, let me go jump out of an airplane. Like, forget it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to die some way. And I'd rather tell the story when I go to heaven. Like, oh, how did you die? Like, I jumped out of the airplane and my parachute didn't deploy. It's just like,
God is going to look at you like, was that smart?
No, what? I enjoyed it all the way down. Embraced it.
But at least he didn't go out by following none of the Detroit defense training. I know that's.
Oh my God!
Oh boy!
Increases survivability.
Man, I think some point we gotta have that dude on here. That shit is awesome, man. That shit's awesome. It's funny.
Good points, though. Good points. Do you like anything to add on?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll make mine real quick. I mean, I was definitely so Chucky and I both were relatively brash growing up. I was always kind of a little bit more calculated of the two. I think the only thing for me is just that, so I've definitely become more calculated, instead of threatening you with my fist, I'll threaten you with a lawsuit. Like, I'll take that approach versus put some handcuffs. And I think the main thing for me, it just comes down to that there's more to lose, because with with being bolder or being brash, or kind of even in a justifiable way, there's still always some form of consequence associated with it, that may impact more than just you and just the people around you. So that's kind of how I think about it. So it's made me more conservative in a sense of, like, I'll take less risk, I'll be more calculated, I'm more chill, I'm just more quiet, even though I've always been kind of quiet. So I mean, that's the only thing for me. Like, growing older has definitely made more, there's more things to be considerate of with my actions. So that's made me less bolder, if anything, like that.
I guess the only thing I would add to this is that, basically when I hear older and bolder, I take it from a stance where it's just like, okay, you're supposed to celebrate that you've reached this level of age, because at one point getting older was a good thing to do. I feel like now it's like, okay, you don't want to get older, you want to look younger, you want to wear these skinny jeans at 60, you want to dye your hair, you want that Rogan, you got to keep it up, we got Viagra too, like, if you need that, we got you. So it's kind of like, in a way, it's taken away from the idea or premise that with age you're a little bit more distinguished, you're a little bit more dignified, you get all these awesome benefits, you get some discounts at Krispy Kreme, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like, but on the real tip, like, we kind of lost the respect for getting older. And especially if you're coming from a time where a lot of people didn't make it past 20, 25, etc. Even got brothers out here that can't even make it past 30. So it's kind of like, to be in a position to where you're like, okay, I'm getting older And bolder, I think, is more to, and that means more to not necessarily take a lot more risk. I feel like you should try to live more of your life as you get older. At some point, you can't, I don't think you're supposed to live your life to work and die. You know what I mean? Like, you live, you enjoy life, you experience things, you go out, you travel, you do what you can, to make the most out of what we've been given. And I think when it comes to being older and bolder, it's just really celebrating your age, recognizing where you are and wanting to be treated a certain way because of it. You know what I mean? Getting the respect that comes along with doing your time and getting older. Similar to how you can even speak to, Francis's example at work. You put in the time at work. Like if I'm 20 plus and I've been working 30 plus, I've been working somewhere for 10 plus years, I would expect to be treated a certain way. You know what I mean? You would expect to have a certain type of command at some point, granted, if you're doing the right things at a job. So it's the same thing in life. As I get older, you want that respect. So let's look into some of our major keys. Share some of your major keys or must-do moves for people entering their 30s. Like, what's your guys' take? And we start off with Francis on this one again.
I think major keys. I think there's really no major keys. I think depending on where you are in life, just so let me kind of list a few things. I'll go back. Make sure to have a mentor. Make sure to have a mentor at 30. Life insurance is really critical. Make sure you have life insurance. Make sure you invest. Make sure you invest in yourself as well. I think that's really critical. Make time for the things that you enjoy, because tomorrow is never promised, and we take life for granted. When we've been talking about aging is a blessing. It's a blessing to wake up every day and see a new day. So and I think sometimes we lose that in this all. I know we've kind of, it's a blessing. Every day is a new day, is a blessing. So and don't compare who you were the year before to who you are in the new year you are going into. Like, set goals for yourself, and ultimately just be like, don't take life too serious, but enjoy it and just just enjoy the moment. Don't get too caught up with some of the expectation that is placed on us, even though I think those are key metrics to kind of measure yourself against the goals, your personal goals for yourself, but don't use it as a way to think you're not doing enough, if that makes sense. So just be mindful of a lot of that, and just I'll just leave it at that.
Good tangible points there, Junks.
I mean, I don't have really much to add to that. I think Francis hit everything on the nose. I would say, don't be worried. Life, you're going to make mistakes. Like, there's no one in life that's not fallible. There's no one in life that hasn't experienced something the wrong way. So don't take yourself too seriously as well. Try to work through everything as best possible. I would also say, along get a mentor, get a psychologist. Sometimes you need to talk things out with someone to figure stuff out. And sometimes things are really hard to decompartmentalize or just decode. So being able to speak to someone that can give you the tools to successfully track through things, I think works better in your 30s, because in your 20s you do a whole bunch of wild stuff. In your 30s you're trying to stabilize, and you do need help stabilizing. So I think that's like the only other nugget outside of what Francis said.
Like to add to that?
Yeah. And then for me, so I actually prepared some goals and some 5 key points that I thought would be essential to just kind of building a nice productive life. I actually took this from Psychology Today, which I was like perusing a whole bunch of different ones, and I was like, really want to, like, what if you had to take it and narrow it down to just a handful, what would be applicable for everyone? So the first one, I think my cousin already hit, was set goals. But just to add on set goals, set SMART goals. So those are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time specific. Adding those things around framing your goals around those things will really help you, make them achievable, obtainable, and again, add more value to those goals you ultimately accomplish. Stand for something. It's important that, as Selassie said, I think it's not at some point. We're not trying to walk through life aimlessly. We're not just trying to do 9 to 5s and then just work and die. Stand for something, have some important value, some organization, some mission statement. You don't have to necessarily change the world, but you should also have some form of objective, something you're aiming to get out of life. Number 3, forgive yourself. Kind of harmonizes with what Chunky was saying. Understand that as you set goals, you may not reach those goals. Sometimes you will fall short, but it's okay to not attain that goal. It's okay to not necessarily get 100 on every test, but you're still working towards it. You're still a human being. You're still trying. So forgive yourself for your shortcomings, so that way you learn from those shortcomings and continue to aspire for more, which is going to lead us to number 4, which is really be a warrior. Live life head on. Make sure you're facing challenges. Prime example, when you struggle and not get 100, and your goal was 100, figure out what you did that you didn't get 100 on that test. Grind a little bit harder, get that 100. Trying to start a business, make sure you learn about that business model. You're trying to, get investment, do whatever. Listen to our podcast where we talked about financial investment, where we talked about crypto and stuff. Like, get the information you need and be aggressive about the things that you want, because setting goals, I think everyone does it at the beginning of the year. We set these little goals, and then, by the end of the year, not even by February, they're usually gone. So set goals that you really want to achieve and be a warrior for those goals. And the last thing I'll say is leave a mark. It kind of ties all the way back to, standing for something. But now that thing you're standing for, be an impact, be a voice of change, and leave your mark in some capacity. Nobody says it has to be, groundbreaking or world changing, but give back to society. Because as you kind of take all these resources and build up yourself to this refined person, make sure you give back. Make sure you establish something. Make sure you contribute on a level where people felt your presence as you lived. And that's all I got.
On my brother, prolific, I would say. And on that note, for more content or to learn more about the podcast, feel free to check us out at Georgia Love Collar Pod on Instagram. Podcast episodes drop every Wednesday. Stay tuned for the outro coming right up to learn additional ways to reach us and send us your feedback. Be sure to like, share, follow, and or subscribe. Like what you're hearing, please leave us a review on your preferred streaming platform of choice. Hope to see you all again next week. Be safe out there, y'all, with these winter storms coming and everything like that. We want to hear you all back on the next pod. So other than that, stay well. Peace.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.